Hey, everybody, welcome into the podcast, the final day of SEMA Show 2023. We're coming at you live from the SEMA Show in the Central Hall, and we are in the Hypercraft booth. Hypercraft is a future tech exhibitor here, and we're glad to have those guys talk with us. We're going to be talking here pretty soon with VP of Direct Sales, Kirk Miller, who's going to kind of give us a walkthrough of his product and what they can offer people in the EV sector. Hypercraft is they offer complete EV drives and battery systems. So we'll get to Kirk here in a bit. He's busy over there talking to other people right now and getting the product info out for them. So thank you to Hypercraft. And you said it was Jake that you talked to earlier, Keith?
Yeah. What's going on, Jay? It was Jake that graciously is allowing us.
Hey, what are you wearing, Jake?
Not the State Farm Jake.
Oh, not that guy? Okay. Khakis?
Yeah. So, we're going to go over there in a little bit.
Yeah.
And there's something cool. You're getting a peek of it right behind us.
Yeah, see it right there?
Yeah. We'll show you guys.
And let's talk about that a little bit. We're seeing a lot of electrification here.
So, yeah, Future Tech Studio is right there.
Right there.
If you're watching this, if you're listening, you can watch this over on YouTube in the podcast section.
Absolutely.
So, it's the Future Tech portion of SEMA in the, where are we, the Central Hall? What day is it?
Central Hall. This is Friday, which is day 4.
Yeah.
Which is the final day. This has been an interesting SEMA show for us. Just kind of some of the observations that we have made. You know, Keith, I don't know. We've been talking about this for several months, just kind of gearing up to get here.
Right.
About the fact that they've kind of opened the show up a little bit more to the consumer and not just the business side of things, right?
Yeah, so today for sure, Friday, you can buy a ticket and come in, and this isn't the first year they've done that. But then they're also doing the SEMA Fest this year, and kind of a general public get-together celebration party concert.
Yeah, they got like SEMA Ignited is tonight, I think. Is
that
right?
So they do that every year, but then it's carrying through tonight into tomorrow and the weekend and all that. So the thing that we have noticed this year versus previous years is the growing shift from a business-to-business model to a business-to-consumer model. So you have to remember, everybody, Specialty Equipment Manufacturers Association, this whole thing started as a B2B, business-to-business, relationship-making convention. And you're basically designed for people in the automotive industry if you needed a wheel manufacturer or back in the day a carburetor manufacturer or exhaust, whatever, right? You get together at the show.
Yeah.
But this is 2023, and so we have virtual meetings online now, and people can send you product, and things are, And so what do you do to keep it alive? Well, you do things like the stuff we just talked about, right?
You bring in new interest. You have to keep the growth going. I think you have to go there. You guys know this. I mean, you're consumers. You experience it every day. You're getting new experiences, new ways to purchase things, new ways to use product, things to help you use the product, or things to kind of help you in life. And as with anything, things evolve. And this is one of those features that evolve. We were over at Apex, on Wednesday. And we're seeing the same thing at Apex, where Apex was basically it still is a manufacturer's show.
Yep.
And but they have had to enter in the
automotive aftermarket performance exchange.
Product exchange. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's Friday. It's Vegas.
You can throw performance in there too, because the performance world is there.
Yeah.
I mean, and then now you got to understand too, the governing body of Apex, as well as the Performance Racing Industry Show in Indianapolis, which is coming up in December. They're all governed by SEMA.
Same company.
Same thing. So it's in everyone's best interest to kind of be involved in these things. And even at PRI, it's a performance racing industry show. They have an EV segment. We the last time we were there 2 years ago, there was a whole section of electrification. So it's pretty cool. Kind of cool to see us shifting in that manner. But anyway, more so than anything, the consumer coming into this show, right?
Yep. Yeah. So, and there's all kinds of new innovation happening here that those folks get to see, or got to see by the time you're listening to this. So one of those things is in the corner behind us. It's the Lightship RV, which you can't see from here on camera. But we did a full walkthrough video that will be out very, very soon, and there was nobody around when we did it, so we got permission from Lightship to do it, and we got exclusive access. And there was we scheduled it with them. They were gracious. Yeah. Amanda took care of us, and we get there, and there's somebody opening the thing up. We got there before showtime, trying to climb in it, and we were like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Because that's a no-no. You don't. It's just like you don't touch other people's cars at a trade show. You don't try to climb into somebody's RV. Anyway, we ran them off. We got exclusive access. That video is going to be out. Check our YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed, and you'll be notified when it comes out.
Yeah, and absolutely. And not only that, Keith, we have been filming a lot of things overall this week. And so there's going to be videos coming out like probably every other day over the next,
there already
2
have
weeks.
Been.
Yeah.
Like, so, what do you mean probably? Like,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I released...
Would you like the count?
So you edited this morning. You edited 6 this morning, right?
Right,
and I've released 4 of them, and I'm still continuing to release some. Some of the cool things that, we picked up, and we're just trying to share with you guys the whole experience of what SEMA is actually really all about.
Right.
And so you guys have to go over to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Parts Counter Gurus, or just subscribe to it, and that way you're notified when you see those things come out. But go look through the shorts library. We have a tab up there when you go to the page. We've got our long-form videos. It's just under videos. Then you've got shorts. If you have, a short attention span, that's why they call it shorts. I think for the most part, even though it's short, it's 60 seconds, I still think it means short attention span.
Yeah, it's
swipe.
Yeah. It's very difficult as creators to show you everything we want to show you in that short amount of time, with a lot of these builds especially. So,
we try.
Yeah, and so what else? So the West Hall full of overlanding gear again.
Not just overlanding gear.
Yep.
Who is there? E-mobility is still strong in just about every sector,
yeah,
right?
we saw Jack. Ooh, Jack. So we're something special coming from Jackrabbit. If you've seen our short, so speaking of shorts and Jackrabbit, we put a short out from the Miami Electrify Expo where Side Shot learned to ride a Jackrabbit, and I did a little 60-second. Anyway, we are working on an exclusive partnership with these guys, and we talked to the owner, Jason. I don't even know what day it is or was, but this week, and so more to come on that, and so I got a new tent company that we talked to. What's the most exciting? What's the favorite thing that you've seen this year? Your favorite thing?
Product-wise, or just in general?
Oh, I mean, not including the trading cards and the. It has to be during show hours, right?
Yeah.
Because we saw some weird stuff. Like, it was Halloween this week.
Well, we'll get into this. We'll talk about some of the things that we've seen off premises here at the convention center, because, Las Vegas is gearing up for a very major event. Which is the Formula One race that's going to be happening here through the streets of Las Vegas. And Keith and I, we ride the monorail in and out every day. And so we get a full view of...
Your elevated view.
Yeah, elevated view.
You're up, I don't know, 100 feet or so?
I think so.
You can see kind of down on the streets what they're doing. And, you're about here. As the sphere goes, you're about halfway up the sphere.
Yeah, which, by the way, if you haven't seen the sphere with the naked eye, man, that's a crazy thing to see, and it's exciting to watch the changes throughout the day and evening. It's so unreal, man. But that's something to see too. But anyway, the grandstands that are just up everywhere. I mean, they've literally drained the ponds, man.
Right.
At the Bellagio
and the Venetian, where you've got the Venice kind of, and so that's empty.
Grandstands,
they've got grandstands there. The Bellagio fountains are gone.
They've cut trees down.
And so we woke up this morning and walked outside, and they had completely stripped the paving off of
on the strip.
Las Vegas Boulevard, and so that's going to be resurfaced for the race. But talking to a few of the locals, I mean, I don't know in general what the consensus is for, the majority of Las Vegans. Vegans? Vegans.
I'd go with vegan.
Okay. But the folks that live here, the ones that we talk to, they're not too thrilled.
No, they're not. In fact, we had an interview with a resident yesterday that had to postpone our initial.
Lives here, showed up late to the show because of the massive traffic problems, did some ride sharing. And one of the locals was like, it's a complete wreck, and they're cutting trees down, like you said, and tearing everything up. And so it is amazing. So the amount of money, the expense to completely refinish this city with the grandstands in the street, it's astronomical. They're counting on big attendance, but I think it's the beautification factor. Like, people don't want to see 100-year-old trees get cut.
Right, and I don't know how old those trees were that they removed in front of the Bellagio, but there's a lot of people that are not happy about it. And
they'll grow back in a year.
Yeah, right. But that's just kind of, that's how things work around here in Vegas, and they are like one of the entertainment capitals of the world, and sometimes it things change to make those events happen. So I'm sure that Las Vegas has taken, the city of Las Vegas has taken all of that into consideration. They're working closely with Formula One to kind of remedy those things. But, you were talking about some of the locals not liking the events. The person we were talking to yesterday, whom we interviewed yesterday, said that she knew of someone who works in the service industry here in Vegas that it was a 3-hour detour.
Almost missed her shift.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I mean, and there's no compensation for that, man. I mean, the city of Las Vegas is not compensating that person for the loss of time if they lose it, right?
No, I mean, that's no different than, any other town where they're going to close the street in front of your business.
Right.
Tough.
Right. Right.
We'll bulldoze you on a side entrance.
Absolutely, man.
Make people drive through the cones and the barrels. So
back to what you were asking me, the most exciting thing that I've seen this week in SEMA.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good one for me, man. There's a lot of exciting things, but I mean, I'm here to look at the product more so the innovation in product, right? And I saw. I mean, we're brand partners with these guys, and I think, man, Seasucker.
Yeah, it's cool.
Just some of the things that they have going on, man, which we're brand partner guys, and so we can leave some links for you guys to go shopping.
So here's what that means. So we have companies that make some of these products that we have partnered with and said, we would like to help sell these. We believe in them. Can we link to your products and mention them and sometimes shoot videos on them, sometimes reviews on them, long-form videos, what have you, sometimes shorts, just depends. We did a really great interview with Christina Kwan with Race Ramps, and that's a whole fascinating story in and of itself, and we want to try to get her on for a long-form podcast. But I think I kind of am speaking for both of us here. The brand partners, we just love some of this stuff so much that we want you guys to be able to get to it. So the easiest way to do that, since you brought it up, is go to our website at partscounterguru.com and click on the show. I'm so bad at this. Show brands. Show specials.
It's show brands.
It's just it starts with show.
It's show
on
brands.
the website near the top on a tab, and it's got the list.
It's there.
And there are some discount codes for a lot of these folks.
Right. If there's a discount code associated with that link, you'll see that in parentheses outside to the right side of the link. So don't hesitate to use it, and they work on everything. So just do it. But what about you? Most exciting thing you've?
Well, it might be. It's down to two things for me. I kind of think meeting Christina because of her story.
Oh, absolutely.
And we haven't even scratched the surface with that. But world champion in many endeavors, boxing, World Series of Poker. She's done really well.
Drag racing.
She's a race driver. She's getting into powerboat racing.
Yep. Two-wheel racing.
Yeah.
Motorcycles and stuff.
So I just am so inspired by people that are driven to just push themselves. And Neil's one of those guys too. He did his Mach-E build over here, and we'll see more of that if you guys haven't seen it when we get to the Electrify Expo in Austin.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we while we've been here, we've also had the opportunity to talk with our two friends from Ruined EV. AJ and CJ.
Hung out to some of the Ruin crew.
Yep, got to meet those guys, and they've got a great program going in the EV space. You can check out again, our YouTube channel to find out a bunch. You can see a bunch of podcasts we put out on those guys and on all the content that Keith created while he was down at Miami Expo, and then of course the stuff we created at Seattle Expo, and then we will a week from today, we will be in Austin at the Electrify Expo in Austin, the final show of the year at the Circuit of the America.
Yeah,
course, right?
Commonly slang referred to as COTA, COTA. So, we'll be there. I don't know what's going to come out of that, but
I don't either.
I know people have made promises to us that we get to drive some of their stuff, and so who knows? Thank you. Yes, thank you. We'll see.
Yeah.
Or you'll see.
You'll see. Well, yeah. You better see. Hey, subscribe so you will see, folks, and you can do that at youtube.com/Parts Kind of Gurus. Like us, thumbs up us, love us, comment us, whatever you need to do, what comes with it. So,
I see that Kirk's not talking to anybody right now.
Do we just want to go ahead and get him on now, and then we can resume?
So what I might do, I'm going to switch mics here. So I'm going to bring this one down. This would be, if I weren't trying to do it for entertainment purposes, it would be really bad radio for me to just mute myself. But here, let's see what happens. All right, so I have switched
Remove
microphones.
your headphones.
Yeah, that would be funny if you just tried to walk away with them. And Jay, now you have to talk into this one.
Do I really have to talk into this one? Pretty good. Okay, so how this is going to work, guys, while Keith is preparing his phone, he's going to join here. And then we're going to go over here and talk to Kirk Miller, like I said, and have him tell us a little bit about Hypercraft and what they're doing in the EV space, which is obviously very innovative. And we've got a ride behind us. We'll have him tell us a little bit about that.
Well, there's my laptop, everybody. Oh,
hey,
sorry, I'm over here talking it. There's my laptop, everybody.
Yeah, so let me see if I can go grab Kurt. Okay, all right.
While we are waiting, let's get a look at this eye candy sitting over here behind us.
Yeah, Sierra Echo. Let's see here. Wow. Okay, so they're using their Hypercraft R300 SI complete racing electric powertrain. This thing, the specs on this thing, you got 306 horsepower peak, 107 horsepower continuous power. Thing's got peak 369 foot-pounds of torque. It has 133 foot-pounds of continuous torque, 12,000 RPM output. Man, can you imagine getting into this thing and just...
And it's electric.
It's electric. But look at the suspension on this thing. And, this is no different. Remember when we were at Seattle Expo, Keith, and we had the kids from UW that were building the formula?
Yeah, that was more of a open wheel race car, but it's same concept. I know where you're going with that. Whereas this is more of an it's got slicks on it though, It's but they show you on the picture, it's really off pavement, at least what they're showing us here. And I can see that with the suspension that it's got on it, right? That this isn't pavement racing suspension. This thing's made to take some bumps.
Yeah, it is made to grip a track. It looks like to me, man. So definitely not for the dunes. But gosh, look at this thing. Look at the wing on this thing, man. So they got some aerodynamics built into this thing, obviously, for purpose, to keep that back end down, keep this thing down, get some downforce on that. Look, they've got the Fox. They even got the Fox suspension on it, man. This is pretty cool. I like seeing open cage like this to get the whole view of everything. And look at the size of this motor.
And it's
right?
got a radiator. Right?
It's a cooler. Yeah. So this is cool, man. I mean, this is rad. I mean, as a kid, you know, if I'm a kid, like say 10 years old, whatever, and I'm just starting to get into the racing side of things, this is what I would want to get into.
Well,
I could totally do this.
You better have you better be Arnold Drummond, you know, or whatever. Like you have Dad with deep pockets, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Get my different strokes
right. So Keith is.
Here he is.
He's from time to time holding this camera in a position to where you're seeing the floor. So never mind him. We get excited, right? So, yeah. Say hey, Keith.
Hey, Keith.
Yeah, right on. So there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kirk Miller. Right?
Hey,
how are you today?
I'm doing well, Jay. Hi. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for joining us. So we've kind of walked around here at this, looked at the Sierra, and we've talked about the Hypercraft setup here.
Yeah.
But we want you to dive into your company and tell us a little bit more about what you guys are all about.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, so you're just touching on the Sierra car. What's really cool about this is just an example. You see the R300 SI. So we've standardized motor packages or powertrain packages that run anywhere from 150 horsepower all the way up to 1,240 horsepower, depending on what your needs are. So this, you know, we thought rather than having this is SEMA, and it is an incredible car show, and the builds are here that are amazing. We thought we would have more chassis based to show what we do,
right?
You know, the powertrain side of it, and how we support, you know, the builders themselves. So in this case, it's Sierra Car, and it's our little R300 SI package. It's 307 horsepower, which is amazing in a 1,500 horsepower car. So it gets real fun, real fast. But we have another example up front of a substantially more complex system with a lot of options that maybe a street car would want.
All right.
You know, kind of a hot rodder as
well. We'll walk over there in just a second and take a look at that. But I had a question. Keith and I were noticing the tires on this thing.
Yes.
So, and I see the media kit you have here with it's showing it on the sand dunes, right?
Yep.
Are they running this slick on the sand dunes?
No.
Or is this a track setup?
This is a track setup. So this is ideal for like time attack, track day, you know, drift fun, things like that. But because of what's unique about the Sierra car is it's a multidiscipline car.
Okay.
So you can, with some suspension changes and obviously wheels and tires, you can now do rallycross. You could do dunes. You could do trail riding. You know, whatever you want to do. Fire roads. It's super fun. So it's an incredibly flexible race/recreational vehicle.
I was saying to Keith when we were walking over here to talk about this thing, if I'm a 10-year-old kid and I want to get into racing, that's what I want to drive.
This, you know, I'm a 60-year-old kid and I want to drive it.
I appreciate that.
It's really fun.
Absolutely.
Really
I love that, man. This is so cool. So take us through some of the product here that you guys are offering, and then we'll get over to the other side too. So,
sure.
So what do we have here?
Well, you know what? I want to give you sort of the customer journey, if you don't mind. So
absolutely. You're leading me the right way, my friend.
So starting here. So we have 4 displays, and this is stage 1.
Okay.
And it's really simple. How much power do you want? So, and we can go from 150 all the way up to 1200. So where do you want to start? Let's just say 500. Okay, we've got several 500 horsepower packages, and then we have a VCU that's controlled. So, you know, some people think the VCU is the same as an ECU.
Right.
But the VCU is much more heavily integrated into the chassis of the vehicle.
Right.
And some of the reasons behind that is because you don't have an internal combustion engine sitting there idling, spinning devices, power steering, air compressor, you know, whatever, alternator.
Right.
In this case, most of the EV systems are direct drive.
Right.
So they don't idle. They just. So when it's sitting there off, you have to have devices that are driven by high voltage or controlled by a master controller, the VCU, programmed to handle all those devices when the driver needs it, when the vehicle needs it.
Gotcha.
So this table, step 1, power, and then we can talk about some of the flexibility of the VCU. But the next step we're going to is range.
Okay.
So this is batteries. Now we're talking about range. So how far do you want to go, and what are you doing with the vehicle? Are you a drag racer? Are you a weekend warrior? Are you just having a cruise car? And we have 2 different battery chemistries that allow you to choose between both power and or energy.
I got you.
So, and then we have different iterations. And you'll notice these packs, they look kind of rugged. You know, they can live in a lot of different environments. And this is all by design that allows us to have different packs, and they're all builder friendly. So the motors have all sorts of different mounts on them. We have everything that we have. You'll notice that there's feet on them and base flanges.
Right.
So we can give all the dimensional information to the builder, and then they can build the vehicle around the energy or the motors or the other devices that we're going to be looking at. So this is 8 kilowatt hours, 10 kilowatt hours, and 25 kilowatt hours.
Wow.
Yeah. So usually, most of the builds we see for like a hot rod car, you're going to be in the 40 to 60 kilowatt hour range, and that gives you anywhere from 130 to 170 mile range, depending on how you, just like fuel,
right?
Depending on how hard
exactly,
you're pushing
just what
it.
yeah, that's it. So whatever size fits your desire, right? That's it. Now I noticed we've got weight. So this is a 107-pound unit, or
yes?
Okay, and then obviously the larger you get, the heavier they get. So what does this particular one weigh? It's about
this one is right around 300 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah, right around 300 pounds.
Okay. Yeah. And that would obviously go into a full size, a bigger vehicle, right?
Yeah, so this is where it gets a little complex. So most of the systems we're going to be showing today are anywhere from 400 to 800 volts. Depending on your range, that's the overall capacity you're going to need, how many kilowatt hours. That means that the voltage of each pack has to vary.
Right.
So we'll have 4 100-volt packs to get you a total of 400 volts. So you have 40 kilowatt hours. Now, if you want 80, that means each pack has to be 50 volts. So that means the internal parallel and stringing of the actual cylindrical cells has to vary based on what your requirements are. So we have 4 or 5 different iterations of internal cell stringing, so a different voltage per pack to give you different range options. I hope that makes sense.
No, it does make sense in series, and I get that. And it depends on what you're doing, and obviously the more weight you add to it changes some things too, right? I mean, depending, like for example, this vehicle over here, I see the size of the battery pack. I mean, that's a good amount of battery.
Well, that's 18 kilowatt hours right there in a power cell, because that is a race vehicle, hardcore recreational vehicle.
Yep.
So we have power cells, and they're right around 18 kilowatt hours. So that'll give you decent range. And then under full boot, full load, like the harshest conditions, using Pikes Peak as an example, that'll give you about 15 minutes of range, because you never get the opportunity to regen. You're never cruising. And you're going uphill the whole time.
Right. So you burn it.
I get excited about the stages, walking a person through the customer journey. So stage 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're done. But I think what's really important to start with is safety.
Okay.
So everything that we do is designed with safety in mind first. So when we look at the packs, we just think of, it's a battery pack. But inside is the battery management system, referred to as the BMS. Inside it's fused, there's an internal contactor, and it also has fluid or thermodynamics already built into it, so you can heat and cool via liquid. We have chill plates or warmer plates all integrated into it. So that way when the builder gets it, it's literally very close to plug and play. So you're running your high voltage cables to it and some low voltage and CAN comms to it, and it's done. You don't have to worry about constructing the modules and the framing and all that to protect it, and you certainly don't have to worry about wiring in a battery management system, which is looking at every cell in the pack.
Okay, and I like the way you put that it's almost plug and play, which is a key, right?
Yeah, the idea here is to put a pack together that's very, very close to plug and play. We assist with the high voltage harnessing and the low voltage harnessing, because the CAN communications have to run in a unique way, so you don't have to worry about any kind of EMI interference. Right. So there's a lot of, when you think of EV, there's a lot of cross references to an internal combustion engine. So like, would you run your fuel line right next to your exhaust? Obviously not. So would you run a CAN right next to a high voltage cable? Well, does that matter? Well, in this case, it actually does. Yeah. So there's a degree of education that's required here. Right. As time goes.
And you were doing a great job of educating me today, and I appreciate it, and our audience. So
thank you.
So this is stage 2.
Yep.
Stage 3.
Step
2. Step 3.
Charging.
Okay.
And high voltage distribution. So the charging is, again, what are you doing with your car and what's important to you, or the builder again. So level 2 charging is the conventional charging where you come home at night, you plug your car in, it charges up overnight, it's filled up, the battery's filled,
Right.
charged up. Next morning you unplug it and you just drive, have fun. If you're driving from LA to Vegas and it's way more than the range of your vehicle, you want to have fast charging. So you can stop and have a cup of coffee or just stop for 15, 20 minutes and get your battery topped up. So we offer 2 iterations of charging. We have level 2 and level 3. Level 3 is fast charging.
Right.
A DC to DC, also known as DC to DC, and then level 2 is like I said, your overnight. So we have those options for charging. And then high voltage distribution. Now this is another part where we talk about safety and then also some of the accessories that we can drive. This, it's called the HVJB, high voltage junction box. This is where the battery packs come in, and then once the contactor's closed, it runs out to the inverter, which is basically the control of the motor that we started over in stage 1.
Right.
In addition to that, there's these other ports that run across the back for high voltage accessories. So your air conditioning compressor, your thermal, your heater unit, they're all high voltage. Well, not in all cases, but many cases, your power steering is high voltage. And you use high voltage, why 400 volts or 800? Because the higher the voltage, the lower current draw.
Right.
They run smaller wire gauge, and it's just much more efficient as just the way electricity works.
Right.
So in that case, you can run all of your accessories right out of the same contactor box.
Okay.
So it's another way of being efficient. Now, circling back to safety, there's also a shunt, which is going to be giving current draw information back to the VCU so it can see how things are working. And then also something called an IMD, Isolation Monitoring Device. And what that is, in simplest terms, it's a continuity tester that runs between the high voltage and the chassis, the high voltage and the low voltage, 12 volt.
Leaving no question about where the whole system sets during the operation, right?
That's
and
right.
Or, yeah, okay.
Or if something bad, if you have a crash,
Right.
or something bad happens, there's a flood, whatever there might be, you need to make sure that you're safe.
Right.
So having that information is one thing, doing something with it is another.
Right.
So that information comes via CAN again to the VCU. That's kind of the supervisor system over all the devices. And if there is a breach in high voltage, now we get a signal up to the VCU. The VCU says, hey, we have a problem. You can get information up to the dash to tell you where the problem is, but more importantly, it derates the vehicle and opens the contactors, separates the packs from the chassis. You're safe.
Wow.
It's cool, right?
Very cool stuff, man.
Yeah.
This is science, man. I love it. All right, so
that's the part that is awesome.
Yeah.
But it's also the part that's challenging for the industry because
Sure.
there's so much to learn. So we thought, look, we've already done a bunch of OEM projects. We've got all these different systems in the pipe. If we can standardize these horsepower packages and these range packages for the builders, it drops the complexity out. We engineer the complexity out of the equation.
Right.
So they can just start doing really good at fitting it, and then we do some programming at the end for torque maps and stuff.
right, the end user experience is basically you're trying to give them an experience that is not as complex as what it actually is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that makes total
If
sense.
we can get to the point where we have, all these crate engine packages that are 5-wire packages, they
Right.
call them, if we can get to a 5-wire EV crate package,
Right.
that's where we want to be. So
Now-
we're targeting that.
Now, so with all of that, you're targeting anybody who wants to say, let's have a 69 Chevelle.
Chevelle.
Okay. And you can say, you have a system for me, right?
Yep,
And we're talking right down to the drive.
that's correct.
That is amazing.
Yes. What we will do, so this is a really important note for Hypercraft and for your listeners, we do not do conversions. We support the builders.
Right.
So we build these packages and then we push it out. I'm going to show you a vehicle up front that's being built by Scared Shiftless. Mark Boyce, very well-known builder, builds hot rods and really beautiful classic cars.
Okay.
We have a 57 Corvette out front that he selected us as his EV supplier,
Right.
powertrain supplier.
Right.
So before we get to that,
Yes.
step 4. We're
Yes.
step 4.
Yep.
So this is accessories. So some of them kind of silly, but they're really cool, and I want to explain it. It's a throttle pedals.
Mhm.
Porsche usually has the floor base. Everyone else likes to have a hang, and then we have sort of an old school cable drive, the throttle itself.
Gotcha.
The throttle position sensor on an EV is critical information. Not just because it's important to say where am I on the throttle, but also that it has built-in redundancy. We have 2 0 to 5 outs, so if one drops, The VCU again says, hey, I just lost a signal. Let's derate and let's get you to the side of the road. But you can't have a situation where you don't have throttle control on an EV, especially on a direct drive.
Right.
So no false signals, no room for that. So we have these different options. We have step-down transmissions because a lot of these electric motors, depending on which one we look at the one in Mark's car and the car being built out front. That has a 12,000 RPM limit.
Yeah.
So it'll spin 12,000 RPM. And if you're running into a drive shaft, that's twice the RPM that you need to see on the drive shaft, unless you're doing a land speed car.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So we have step downs that can bring the RPM down. You can half it, you can third it. There's all different ratios that we can have on the step down, so it gets an appropriate RPM range at the tail shaft of the transmission.
Is that something you would incorporate with, like, say, a select drive? If you say, for this particular course, I can select a specific drive. Is that?
Well, no, it's really just saying, again, back to the builder and back to the vehicle owner, what are you going to be doing with this car?
Gotcha.
And how fast do you want to go?
Gotcha.
And if you want 140 mile an hour top end, we'll get you that, and we'll gear it because the torque range of an electric motor is so broad, right, so stout, that allows us to literally say, from 1 mile an hour to 140, you're going to be right in the fat of your power almost the whole time. So you don't have to worry about gearing it like an internal combustion engine.
Yeah.
Some of these other accessories, high voltage power steering, is pretty extreme.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with King of the Hammers, the unit that uses Vol's King of the Hammer build, it's an 800 volt, Dana powered, and then it has ram steering, so we're using hydraulics. This is cool. Again, this is another great example of what we do in line with the installer and the builder. So we talk about thermal management for both the batteries and also for the drive units, and then also for the cabin of the vehicle, heat and AC. Rather than having devices spray out through the vehicle and plumbing going all over the place, we came up with this box. So inside is a high voltage AC compressor, high voltage heater unit, and then you can have up to 4 loops, coolant, chiller, or warmers, based on what you need, all those different loops to run throughout the vehicle. And again, the VCU plays a huge role in this, and it's looking at all the information coming in, and it's running all the way up, and your battery packs should start running warm. This automatically kicks the chillers on. The VCU says send a cooler liquid to it. It'll do it. Brings the packs down, keeps them in the Goldilocks zone.
Unreal.
It's cool, right?
It is very cool. I mean, this is innovation. This is innovation.
There's part of this my favorite. So these are display options and Prindle options. And this is a CAN keypad, another Prindle option. So you have digital displays, and you have several different displays you can have. You have more of an analog, classic look, depending on the vehicle. You can match up to your factory gauges. These are all CAN driven. So you have a CAN device that comes, or the CAN stream comes up to the back of the gauges, displays the information for the driver, and give also. Favorite button is this, the tortoise and the hare. So with our VCU and the programs that we put in, we can put up to 4 different performance maps in. So if you're like, you can scroll through the maps, put valet mode. So it only maybe has 25 horsepower. And then if your son or daughter's driving it, you want to put them on full send, but car, keep them safe. That's map 2. Map 3 might be a fun or cruise drive. Map 4, full send.
Right.
So now do you want drift mode? Do you just want to whatever you want, you can do it with the map. So
I love it. I like that button too, man.
I do. I love it.
I love that. So, all right. So that's step 4 or stage 4, if you will.
Yep.
Tell us about the build here. You're
just wrapping up on the stages. So if we go through these 4 steps, this is the customer journey.
Right.
At the end, I've got a list of what motor, what battery packs, what accessories, how high voltage. I've got your bill of materials for your build. So now you can say, awesome, let's go. And then we get to something like this. Now this looks, it is complex, and it's by design. So this is the scared shiftless build. It's a 57 Corvette on an all-person chassis that's been modified to accommodate all these EV devices. And the idea was to capture this car before all the harnessing and plumbing was tightened up and before the body went on, because you get to see what we do.
Right.
So what we're looking at is an EV 800 volt, 500 horsepower, fully accessorized build. So it has high voltage AC, it has thermal management, it has 80 kilowatts of power, which is a tremendous amount of range. So this is 250 to 300 mile range, depending on how you're driving.
Right.
Just like any
of course,
fuel economy or energy consumption. Electric assist power steering. heat and AC. You can see the units there.
Yeah.
And then proper thermal management for all your battery packs that are staggered throughout. Now that's one of the other things I didn't really talk about. I'm talking about these modular battery packs, how we can string them together.
Right.
But also notice he's got 4 in the front, 4 in the rear.
Right.
He's got damn near perfect 50-50 weight distribution. So
Yes.
just another really cool benefit of having a modular system that you can distribute the vehicle.
I get that, and obviously weight distribution on a performance vehicle is so key. I got to tell you, you're taking me through all of this. Mm-hmm. The one thing that you guys not take away from the originality is the steering wheel.
Right. Well, you gotta know what you're in.
You got to keep something, right? You know, and I love that. So it just shows you the innovation that you guys have, the technology you have for a restoration.
Thank you. Yeah, when this vehicle is done, and if you're walking up to it and you're looking at it, you will not be able to tell it's an EV until you hit the start. He has a push button start, and it doesn't make any noise. The only sound you hear is click, 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 which is the contactors closing.
Right.
And there's a couple of lights that come up on the dash to let you know she's running.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So I've said this before to our listeners. I've asked, and I told this earlier when we were talking, I've had discussions with people who have jumped over to the electric side in a 69 Carmen Ghia, for example. And I asked them, what would they say? What would you say to someone if they wanted to do a resto? Would you go there? And I think your answer, obviously, promoting your product, but that's not the only reason why, because you're a car guy too, right?
I am.
I mean, we're all car guys.
Yes, I am. I've got too much of everything.
Yeah.
You can ask a lot of people, meaning cars and motorcycles and such, but on that note, like, why would you do this? And why would it be an instant yes for somebody who's experienced this? So I've told this story. So I like BMW 2002. I think it's a cool old retro car. And I also like the Volkswagen Bug. And I think they're cool cars, and there's a lot of sentimental value. And you get to a stage in your life where you say, but I have this ideal situation in my head that, we're going to go for this cruise in one of my cars. Let's use the Volkswagen as an example. And me and my wife are going to go for a ride, and the weather's going to be perfect, and the wind's going to be blowing, and everything's going to be great. The reality is, it's going to be either hot or cold. So your heat and AC, there is no AC in a Volkswagen Bug, in a Bug. The heat is, comes off the exhaust. It's almost like convection heat, right? You're at 35, 40 horsepower on a stock Bug, so your acceleration onto a freeway where people are going 60, 70 miles an hour, I don't know how many seconds it takes, a lot.
Yep.
So if you go, so the ideal, and then choke start, no cat. Right. Fuel leak, the push rod tubes, they always leak.
Exactly.
How good you are, and I know people throw stones at me for that, but it's a tough sell. Now, and that's complicated by the fact that if you do a restoration on an earlier iteration car and do it proper, you're paying a huge premium for a properly built restoration engine, even if it's an air-cooled Bug or if it's an old 2002 BMW. Do the step EV conversion. A base like a low voltage system of 144 volt, maybe 120 horsepower. But like you can manage your torque, you can program your ramp and your torque, so you don't have to worry about snapping axles out of these things.
Right.
Like that. Now you have 3 times the horsepower and torque available, so now your acceleration onto a freeway is effortless. And your gears, you have your granite gear in a Volkswagen, again, as an example, and I'm not picking on them, I'm just saying this is a fact. Your granite gear first, it'll pull you up to about 8 miles an hour, and then you're grabbing gears to get up to 60. And these are direct drive systems, and as I mentioned, geared for a specific top speed. You can get in, just accelerate and roll on it. Now, you have a really nice accelerating car. On diesel, you can have regen that assists with the braking. You can put air conditioning and heat,
power steering,
everything that you thought of the car it should be, it becomes. Right. And then it sits in your garage, you just plug it into the wall, you don't have to think about anything, there's nothing sitting under the car catching oil drips, there's no fuel smell because there's no evap requirements. It's just, and legislative and regulatory challenges, you don't have to worry about CARB or EPA slamming you for doing your cool upgrades. Right. It's all legit.
So here's my bigger question. Now that we know what you guys can do for the consumer, do you guys have a service where if they were to go to your website, which if you would, go ahead and call that out.
Hypercraftusa.com.
And on your website, if someone goes, what can they expect when they go to build or select what they want to see what you guys have? And do you have a dealer finder or a shop finder? Is that how that works?
Yes,
oh,
yes,
that's awesome.
Yes. So our it's actually, I think everyone you talk to, your website is always
absolutely.
So we have what's referred to as a configurator website, and just like we walk through these stages, the customer journey on our website is going to be the same.
Okay.
Hey, pick your power. We're going to ask some additional questions, vehicle use, so we can make sure that we align you with the proper energy source or energy storage and battery system. But it really is pick your power. How far do you want to go?
Yeah.
What options do you want? How do you want it to charge? And we start there. And next, there's a conversation.
Got you.
You know, so this is, you know, if there's a challenge in these conversations, it's the price point.
Yeah.
So be prepared to spend. There is a premium at this point. We are early in the curve with the adoption of this technology.
Right.
So the economies of scale are not there. And
right.
We don't have 100 years of history of refining this technology yet.
Right. And I get that. And Keith and I both know this, that you have to pay for the technology.
Right.
But I think that if people will open their mind a little bit and understand that, like what you were just saying, you can spend a ton of money on internal combustion engine restoration, and you still have to put money into it over and over and over again. I would have to say, just my opinion of it, this seems to me like this is an extremely low maintenance vehicle after you build it, right?
Yeah.
You don't have leaks everywhere.
Nope.
You don't have fumes everywhere. You're probably going to be able, as long as you do the correct battery maintenance, you're probably going to be able to get in it on the weekend and go drive it without having to worry about something not working, right?
That's right. To your point on the back, you're absolutely right across all points, and I want to give you a little bit of additional data on that. But on the battery maintenance subject, the battery management system and the VCU, when you're plugged in the wall, it's waking up and looking at everything and keeping everything maintained for you.
Right.
So there's nothing to think about. So when you come in, you should be able to unplug, hop in the car, and go.
I love it.
As far as cost of operation, I'm going to give you a great example. So Steve Huff was the first person to go over 200 miles an hour in an electric drag car.
Okay.
2,000 horsepower. I worked with him on his program, helped him with his controls and such, and some of the team members. One of the interesting data points that came out of it is a pass, a 200 mile an hour pass. I think costs less than $2. I think it was $1.90 was the total expense.
Wow.
It was a 2,000 horsepower vehicle.
Wow.
And his amortization for, not his amortization, I'm sorry, what he has to accrue for maintenance is next to zero. It stretches chains because it's a chain.
Right.
So you have to replace chains. And then every once in a while. But it is the comparative maintenance cost and run to run.
Right.
When he comes back in, they look at the tires, they check the chain, they plug in the charger.
Yeah, see, guys, I'm telling you,
I'm oversimplifying slightly.
Right.
But if someone says I went to the track and it cost me $1.90, let's round up $2 a pass.
Right.
And I did 5 passes at a strip, and it cost me $10 in a 200 mile an hour drag car with 2,000 horsepower. Like, is that even possible? Yep, it's right there. It's right there.
Right. So, our fans, man, out there, do not hesitate to consider this. That's all I got to say.
So, if I can just interject one more. So there's another path. Like, we're talking about the expense here, and this is expensive. So like our base package, like all in, you're starting at about $35,000.
Right.
All new product, and as I said, engineered to end for the builder to install. Now, if that cost barrier is intimidating and you need something lower, there's a whole secondary market, which is kind of cool. So you can go to a salvage yard and salvage a Tesla drive unit out.
Right.
We service them, and then we can salvage the battery packs out and pull the modules out and service them as well and prep them for an install as well. Now, there's
That's
a lot
awesome.
more fab work, but it's a much lower cost.
Okay. So you're giving the consumer option
We are
to give them
yeah,
that
man.
point, right?
This is good stuff, and it's
Yeah.
really important. And this industry has some pretty severe headwinds with EPA and regulatory challenges.
Right.
With this, it's a way to have creative degree of freedom with what you want to do, and you don't have to worry about looking over your shoulder once you've done it.
Right.
It's a lot of fun. And it's really.
I love
you
it.
look around here. There's some epic builds.
Right.
So it's fun.
I love it. And I say something to all the haters out there on electrification. I have to say this because I ask this a lot, which is happening with all those batteries, right? This is what's happening with all those batteries that are out there. You can service them. If they're good, you can repurpose them.
That's accurate, 100% accurate. And I'll close on our end. We have closed loop system, meaning that when our packs go out, we're using the 21700 cells in 2 different chemistries, but when they come back to us for service, if we find this pack has been used to its limits, we will bring it back in, we discharge it to 0, pull all the cells out, and send them off for lithium recycling. So
That's
everything goes back into the system.
There you go, folks. There you go. You heard it here, right?
Right, and it's important. Like there's people who are out there haters because they think that with the way some things are happening in the automotive industry, there's these hard deadlines. Like you have to do this, you have to do that. This, to me, it's in addition to what you're already doing.
Right.
So it's just another way to have fun with it. But in the other end of it, for me, I'm a car guy. You're a car guy.
Right.
I'm in constant search for the ultimate in performance. So if you talk about hypercars and race cars, what are the quickest and fastest vehicles out there? They're either electric or hybrid. So, hey man, this is a way to have fun without worrying about emissions compliance. And
exactly.
You can ultimately find way more performance.
That's great, man. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I have learned so much, man. This has been fantastic. So we've got to go wrap our show up.
All right.
Please thank your entire team for letting us come to your booth and broadcasting our podcast.
We've got over 80 people at Hypercraft right now, and
there you go.
More than half are engineers, and a huge thank goes to them.
Okay, fantastic. Make sure you guys visit. So we're going to head on back over. We'll come see you after we're finished, okay?
Appreciate it.
Thanks so much. You bet. Thank you. All right, guys, so you heard right there, man, that is probably one of the best walk-arounds of EV electrification innovation out there, guys. And I'm telling you, man, don't hesitate. If you got a resto mod and you're tired of cylinder head issues, carburetor issues, or just fuel issues and stuff like that, this is a solution for you. Don't be afraid of it. Just try it. So you got to talk to them. So here we are back here at our podcast booth here. And we're going to wrap it up with you guys. Gosh, we can't thank you guys enough for joining us today. That's for sure, Keith, right?
Yes. Hi, Keith. Hi, Keith. Yes. Absolutely. Give me I don't know, 20 seconds to get the mics hot again.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah. Are the mics not hot again?
I had them.
Oh, you had them down, huh? Did you?
I had them down, Jay, because you never know who's going to come by and just start,
Well, here, let me
giving you a little what for.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I got you. You'll bring the levels up, right?
Yeah, you're back up now.
Okay, so I'm going to
You can
here.
literally drop the mic.
All right, so
nobody will know.
And Keith, I can't thank you enough. Keith is usually the one holding the mic and talking to these guys, but he's been wanting to run the camera this afternoon, so he gave me the opportunity, and I learned a lot through that. I hope you guys did too.
That was fascinating.
It was very fascinating.
I'm ready to go do a conversion.
Yeah, who wouldn't be? I mean, you listen to what he just said about what you can do with electrification, the amount of horsepower you can get out of these things, and torque, and it's everything is there's a design for it. You tell them what you want, and they will give you what you want. And again, I'm going to bring this up again because I'm going to hit this hard. Anybody out there, the haters on electrification, do your homework before you comment on this and asking us, well, what are you doing with all the batteries? Well, you just heard it from them, right? So there you go.
So, and that is, I love to see that. I love to see...
I like the way you...
thoughtful... Yeah, what I do?
Back away.
Oh yeah,
I'm
just
a little hot, wasn't
I wasn't on screen when you stir up trouble. So I mean they're trying to not just think about selling product right now, but what's the cycle here, right? And how do we kind of be clever and smart and careful, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. So I want to mention one other thing before we wrap this, and I've got to go quickly because our batteries are almost dead. But the big three typically always have a major presence at the SEMA Show. Now, you guys know who those guys are. It's GM, Ford, and now Stellantis. Or Chrysler.
That's right.
Yeah, from the older days. And because of the UAW issues that we've talked about on previous podcasts, virtually non-existent from an OEM booth, with the exception of Ford doing some clever things with their, they've got a wrap, and then our friend Neil did a build for them, and it's literally right. I'm looking at it right now. But props to Ford for cleverly finding ways to present that didn't necessarily break the bank and get the word out. But I think the point I want to make here is this is going to be a very interesting next 6 months.
I think so.
And I do feel like with the future tech that's happening, like Hypercraft that we just showed you guys, they're stepping up.
Yeah.
Right? And so you need to see that because otherwise everything crumbles. If somebody else doesn't step up and deliver and provide what people want from a mobility perspective.
Exactly.
So it's nice to see that. Okay, so in closing, and again, got to do this quickly, thank you guys for watching and listening. If you want to listen, if you're watching and you want to listen, you can go to our website at partscounterguru.com, click on the podcast tab, and it'll take you to all the links. We're on all the platforms. If you're listening and you want to watch, you go to the same place. And we've got all of our social links
Everything
there.
right there.
You can do YouTube, you can do TikTok, you can do Instagram. We're all there. They're all there. We're all there. They're all there. And then, of course, all of our brand partner show specials are on that same website also. So we got to get out of here. Literally got to get out of here, everybody. The week is almost over for us. Thank you guys for watching. For my pal Jay over there, I'm Keith, and we will see you all on the next one.
Take care, guys.